This is the Skeleton Key on our 31 spooky movies of Halloween. Ah, yes, The Skeleton Key, a horror film where Kate Hudson leaves behind her usual romantic comedy frolics and slips into the shadowy, humid dread of the Louisiana bayou. Because honestly, what can be more frightening and terrifying than being in Louisiana? But that is okay, because this movie builds tension like a pot of gumbo simmering on low heat. You know something's coming. You're just not quite sure when it's going to spill over, but oh, when it does, it's deliciously dark and just unsettling enough to keep you on the edge of your seat, or at least slightly leaning forward. In this film, Kate Hudson plays Caroline. Bum, bum, bum. A hospice worker who's had it up to here with the usual sad, sterile hospital setting, so naturally, she takes up a live-in gig at a crumbling plantation mansion in the middle of nowhere with two charmingly peculiar elderly folks. There's Violet, who is a salty old lady who lives there, and her bedridden, mostly mute husband, Ben, who takes the prize of being the most physically present yet dramatically absent character in the film. Seriously, John Hurt has about as much impact as a potted plant in this film. He grunts, he drools, he occasionally makes eye contact. He's basically a teenager. The mansion itself is a true star here, exuding that classic creepy Southern Gothic creepiness in its decaying but still holding on to its dark secrets form, like the dilapidated attic full of dusty mirrors and talisman that scream, "Bad things will happen here!" The film takes its sweet time letting you figure out exactly what those bad things are, and it's a slow, almost lazy drip of information, and that's part of the fun, isn't it? It's like peeling back layers of southern moss, only to find more swamp muck underneath. The Skeleton Key doles out its creepy reveals with the kind of unhurried pacing that only a film set in the Deep South can get away with. Now, no rush, y'all. We'll get to the scares eventually. Now let's talk about Kate Hudson for a moment, shall we? You've probably known her for years as that bubbly, effortlessly charming girl next door in films like How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days and other movies I've never watched. Here, though, Hudson ditches her megawatt smile for a look of perpetual concern, skepticism, and just a dash of indignation. You can tell from her performance that Caroline, bum, 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 doesn't really want to be there, which is fair because that's how I feel whenever I watch one of Hudson's romantic comedies. But Hudson brings a solid, grounded performance, especially when the supernatural weirdness starts to creep in, and oh, does it creep in. She's not your typical horror heroine who makes dumb decisions just to keep the plot moving. Carolyn, bum, 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 questions everything, investigates the weirdness, and tries her best not to get sucked into the madness. Which is not very effective because that's exactly what ends up happening. Speaking of the weirdness, let's dive into the voodoo aspect of this film. That's right, there's hoodoo curses and all sorts of mystical nonsense going on here, and the film handles it in a way that is both eerie and, dare I say, an insightful satire on the lingering racism in the American South. The wealthy white plantation owners messing around with forces they can't control. Yeah, that won't end well. At times, the movie veers into subtle social commentary territory, showing that racism and exploitation aren't just ghosts of the past. They're very much alive in the present, even if they're hiding behind old Southern traditions and a polite society. But don't worry, this isn't some kind of heavy-handed morality tale. It's just layers in the dark history with a deft touch, allowing the story to speak for itself while still making a point that you might or might not pick up on. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't mention the plot twist, because if there's one thing that people walk away from this movie talking about, it is the twist. And look, I'm not gonna spoil it for you, but let's just say you might see it coming. And by might, I mean there's a really good chance you'll figure it out long before it's officially revealed. And here's the thing. It doesn't matter. Even if you're smart enough to piece it all together early on, the twist still hits like a big spooky revelation in the form of a bag of bricks. It's one of those, oh, I knew it, revelations, but instead of feeling cheated, you actually feel rewarded for having paid attention. And for those who didn't catch on at the very end, it's the perfect kind of shock. It's the, oh, why didn't I see that coming type of shock. And as for the atmosphere, it's rich. Director Ian Softly creates a moody, unsettling environment that oozes unease from every creaky floorboard and every flickering candle. The whole film feels like it's drenched in southern humidity, the kind that clings to you and makes you feel just a little bit sticky. And then the movie puts you in one of those old pickup trucks with the naga hide seats and you just have to rip yourself off of them. This is the kind of tension that permeates every single scene. The set design, the soft murmurs of the Louisiana breeze, the rustling trees, it all builds this wonderfully oppressive mood. It's not jump scare central, thank goodness, but instead it's a slow burn of ever-growing dread that never lets you relax. This movie doesn't want to scare you, it wants to make you feel uncomfortable, and in that, it truly succeeds. Is it any wonder that this movie was such a hit on Rotten Tomatoes? What? So let's circle back to John Hurt, because they either did him dirty or they did him right. I mean, hey, John, we're a big fan. We'll pay you this money if you come and lay down and not say anything. How about that? The guy who gave us unforgettable performances in Alien, The Elephant Man, 1984, and Doctor Who, here he's reduced to rasping and grimacing in a chair for the bulk of the movie. I mean, sure, his character does play a crucial role in the overall plot, but as far as showcasing Hurt's skills, this film missed the boat entirely. He could have phoned in this performance at home and we wouldn't have even known the difference. This man is an acting legend and spends 90% of the movie as a glorified prop. And it's kind of funny how little he's actually given to do. I hope he got paid a lot of money for this because that's hilarious. So in conclusion, The Skeleton Key is a fascinating entry in the horror genre, mostly because it takes its time playing with the Southern Gothic elements and bringing in a satisfying if predictable twist that makes it all worthwhile. Okay, I'm not gonna do that again. Kate Hudson impresses as a heroine who has more brains than most of your average horror movie women, and the film's exploration of Southern mysticism and hidden racial tensions adds some intriguing layers to the narrative. Yes, it's a shame that John Hurt is barely allowed to act, but hey, at least the mansion has more than enough character to make up for it. Creepy atmosphere? Check. Slow burn tension? Double check. A twist that will leave some smugly nodding and others gasping? Absolutely. So if you're in the mood for a ghost story with some unexpected depth, a pinch of social satire, and just enough creepy ambiance to keep you from sleeping too soundly, The Skeleton Key is a key worth unlocking the door to put on your list of 31 spooky movies of Halloween.